I ventured out this year. I left my job as the chief product officer at Dribbble to start a brand new company. And that company is gigantic. My goal is to help you master the new influential disciplines that are driving results within organizations, like product leadership taught by Ben Foster, the former CPO at Whoop. It's not just video courses. We're combining video lectures with take-home assignments and exercises, and then small group mentorship to really help level you up, and all at a cost that most companies' learning and development budget covers. So if you're interested, go to gigantic.is, that's gigantic.is, sign up for a course, and I'll walk you through everything that you need to know. And if you enroll and let me know that you heard about this on Rocketship, I've got a special discount for you.
Welcome to the Rocketship podcast. I'm Michael Sacca.
I'm Joelle Steiniger.
We're here at Tech Cocktail Celebrate in downtown Las Vegas, where they've brought together 50 of the hottest startups from around America together to pitch their panel of all-star judges. One of the most unique themes of this conference, though, is actually the focus on community. Personally, I moved here to downtown Vegas about 2 months ago, and say everything you've heard about what's happening in Vegas is absolutely true.
Over the past few months, we've talked to entrepreneurs and founders from all over the country, from Columbus, Ohio, Boise, Idaho, Nashville, Tennessee, and a really common theme we've heard is that people want to build up a really strong community in their hometowns. And I can say that I've never really seen anything like what they're doing here in Vegas. I'm absolutely blown away at what Tony Hsieh and everyone in the community here has put together. So what we'd like to do in this episode is share with you some of the key ingredients that are really making this a successful project. And Tony Hsieh gave a great talk on this earlier, and so we're going to bring you some clips now from his talk.
We'd like to take a moment to thank our awesome sponsors. CodeShip makes continuous delivery simple and easy. Go to codeship.com/rocketship to get 20% off 3 months.
We'd also like to thank InVision app. InVision is by far the best prototyping and collaboration tool on the market. Go to InVision app/Rocketship to get the starter plan free for 90 days.
Customer.io is a modern email platform built for startups. Go to customer.io/Rocketship to start sending emails that convert.
We're going to come out once a month and still participate in the community and contribute. So he's actually done office hours and mentored other entrepreneurs in the fashion industry and given talks, including one of my favorite talks is how to do a really good Kickstarter campaign. And so we started doing the math on someone like Jake, and he hangs out at the Stitch Factory, which is around the corner, and one of the fashion incubators there. And someone like Jake, well, when he's out here, he's out about 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 times a year. It actually works out to about 1,000 collisional hours a year for a purposeful visitor like Jake. And so we actually came up with a term to describe someone like Jake. While we still want people to move here, of course, we've been calling people like Jake subscribers of downtown Vegas. Because even though technically they don't live here, when he walks around, people recognize him, he collides with people, and he's actively contributing to the community. So there are people like Jake that come once a month, some come once every 2 months, some come once a quarter, and so on. So we changed this formula. Instead of 100 residents per acre to 100,000 collisional community hours per acre per year, which works out to 2.3 collisional hours per square foot per year. And so that's just an additional lens through which we now look through all our investments. So if we're investing in a 3,000 square foot restaurant, there's all that other criteria that still needs to make sense. But now, on top of that, with the math on how many customers, how long will they be there, and is that going to yield at least that many collisional hours? And so that's the metric we use to, and we're trying to maximize that in order to create more collisions. So the big bet is by focus on these 3 C's: collisions, co-learning, and connectedness. What we want people to say about downtown is that downtown Vegas will make you smarter. And that's probably the last thing a lot of people would associate with downtown or Vegas. And really we think that all these collisions and getting different perspectives and really getting the idea flow and the community helping itself is what's going to make us grow faster than a lot of other projects out there. And so I'm involved in a few different companies. Zappos, Field and Conference, which is a separate company that was spun off of the book with its own CEO based out of the area that's focused on helping companies develop their own strong cultures and downtown projects. There's this common theme of inspiration we try to weave throughout the different companies. And I don't think a lot of people know this actually. For the first time ever in human history, and this just in the past few years, for the first time ever, 50% of all humans now live in cities. And within our lifetime, it's going to actually jump up to 75%. And so we view what we're doing here in downtown Vegas as much more than just about downtown Vegas or the Vegas general area. We're inspired by the story of the 4-minute mile, where, for those of you who may not know it, for the longest time, people thought it was impossible to run a mile in 4 minutes or less, or they thought even if you did, you'd die as soon as you crossed the finish line. And then in 1954, this guy named Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. But what I find really interesting is that in less than a year, other people broke the 4-minute mile. And it wasn't that nutrition was better on Earth that year, it's just that people believed it was possible. And so a lot of redevelopment projects depend on an expensive stadium or sports team or a Harvard or Stanford, and not every community or city can afford to have those things. And so we purposely chose our 3 C's of collisions and connectedness and co-learning because we wanted something that could be replicated to other communities and cities. You know, if we can help make downtown Vegas a place probably voted by many as least likely to succeed, if we can help make downtown Vegas a place of inspiration and entrepreneurial energy and creativity and innovation, upward mobility and all that good stuff, if we can do it here, then maybe we can serve as the 4-minute mile for the world. So anyone that wants a copy of this presentation, feel free to email me, tony@zappos.com. And then I just want to end on that quote I was talking about earlier, just really encourage all of you to think about how it could apply to your own business or whatever organization you're involved with. Is a great brand is a story that never stops unfolding. And I think the same is true for a company, the same is true for a city, and the same is true for a community. And that's why I am so excited to be a resident of downtown Vegas right now, because I can't wait to see what unfolds next. Thank you very much.
Next, we sat down with Mark Rowland of Rocketeer, whose company mission is to increase the happiness, productivity, impact, and connectedness of entrepreneurial ecosystems, and they're starting right here in downtown Las Vegas. Stay tuned. This is a fantastic conversation. So Mark, tell us about Rocketeer.
Sure. So Rocketeer was created close to a year ago now, although we've only recently been funded, to support Tony, the ecosystem for Tony Hsieh. Essentially, he's our first client. The essence of Rocketeer is that we're there to support an entrepreneurial ecosystem, wherever that ecosystem might be, whether it be a government ecosystem, a corporate ecosystem, or a private investment ecosystem. But something where it's got more than, say, 20 companies inside of it, that we can actually help the community as a whole. Because the reason we call Rocketeer is because we focus on 4 ROCs. So return on capital, return on community, return on co-learning, and return on collisions. So obviously the more companies we actually have in the ecosystem, the more chance there is for co-learning, the more chance there is for building a community, and that's what we're really focused on.
This episode is brought to you by Miro. So when I was at Dribbble, over the 6 years, there was one tool that we would always use when we were doing cross-team collaboration. Whenever the collaboration started to get complex, we would bring in Miro. It made it incredibly easy to align stakeholders across regions and time zones and definitely teams with ease. And we were able to do all of that while being a completely remote team. It also has integrations into Jira, Azure, Rally, a lot of the tools that you're using already for product management and engineering. So you can import tasks from them as native cards, and it helps you see the big picture. It also helps stakeholders to understand what work needs to be done. It was incredibly valuable. And then they even have an estimation app that gives you a clear understanding of the work scope, lets you identify gaps, and then it has the ability for you to set clear expectations for delivery, especially when you're working across functions. So your first 3 Miro boards are free forever when you sign up today. Go to Miro.com/podcast. That's Miro.com/podcast.
So what made you want to put this idea together? Or what was the inspiration for Rocketeer?
It was really just to realize that, I guess, entrepreneurial ecosystems are the future. The whole world is changing. People are not wanting to have a career job anymore. They're not wanting to go and work for a huge corporate as much anymore. So there's a lot of people that just really want to start their own projects, start their own thing, really unleash a lot of creativity. And I think we realized that the entrepreneurs themselves and early stage startup companies just can't afford consulting support or coaching support or training support. They find it hard to get access to the right mentors. So we thought if we could actually create an infrastructure, we call it instant infrastructure for the entrepreneurs, then that would be something that would really support this unleashing of creativity and potential in the world.
So how do you make it affordable for a startup community?
Well, the Kaufman Institute Foundation did a lot of studies for an actual ecosystem or a portfolio. What sort of return do you get if you really help them? And I can't remember the exact number, but it was a significant percentage increase in the value of that portfolio if you provide an appropriate level of support, whether it be mentoring or training or consulting to your companies. Much more value creation than just pumping more money into them, interestingly enough.
Sure.
Because it was the more money you pump into them, the value actually decreases overall. But if you support them and if you do appropriate due diligence, then you actually get a much stronger value for your portfolio.
Okay.
So the essence of Rocketeer is that it's funded by the owner of the ecosystem, or the owner of the portfolio, to essentially create a high return on investment.
So you guys are working directly with the tech fund?
So we get paid by the funds to help all of their investments.
That's really cool.
And then to help the investments. So the co-learning piece. So to try and be that glue that sort of fits the community, pulls the community together.
Yeah.
But also give it access to collisionable mentors. So if we can build this list of mentors around the world that really want to help early stage startup companies, then I talk to you, I realize your personality, I try and match you with somebody that's got a similar personality, that's got the skills that you need for your business. And I know from my experience, sometimes just a 15-minute phone call with someone that's been there and done what you're trying to do can add tremendous value.
Yeah.
So the actual companies inside the portfolio itself, unless they want ridiculous amounts of our time, they don't pay for our services. Effectively, they're getting our services just because they were invested in by this particular fund or portfolio.
Yeah.
So right now we just work solely with Las Vegas, just with Tony Hsieh's investments. But we're looking to grow Rocketship beyond that.
Very cool.
So what does your relationship look like with a typical company?
Really depends on the company. So we have right now there's 150 companies in this portfolio. We have 5 members of our ground team, and we have access to a lot of cloud Rocketeers. But clearly 5 people can't fully service 150 companies. So we really look at the portfolio itself and we put them in different buckets. Some buckets we feel as though we're going to have a huge return on face-to-face time with that company. So with those companies, we actually do spend a lot of time face-to-face. And with other companies, we know that by giving them face-to-face time, we're not going to get as much of a return than if we spent it with this other company, but we still want to support them. So with those companies, we do say one-to-many type things instead of one-to-one. So we organise training events, we organise webinars, or we just try and help the community help itself. So we sort of categorise the companies based on their current potential and future potential, and whether they are people that actually do help the community. So if there's a real co-learning benefit to us helping someone because we know that they're really active in the community, and if we teach them something, they're going to go and teach 10, 15 other companies, then that's the scalability factor for us.
What are some of the common questions that people come to you with?
Can you get us more money?
Is that the usual one?
That's the most common one. when you start a relationship with how can we help you the most?
Yeah.
Can I have more money? Can I have more customers? Can you find me more talented developers? They're the common ones. I mean, we say we try and help, but we're not miracle workers. But
what are some of the other like where you see the holes, where maybe the entrepreneur doesn't even know? Is it like in their financial models or in parts of their business that they think are working, but
I mean, of course, it depends on the company.
Yeah.
But in general, yes, we've. I think what I found with working with a lot of the startups here, there'll be 2, maybe 3 co-founders, and those co-founders will have a specific skill in something. But then there'll be a ton of skills that are missing from the co-founding team, and because they're early stage companies, they can't afford a big salary to pay. If the 2 co-founders don't know finance very well, they're not going to be able to afford to hire a CFO at a very early stage. So that will be deficient in that team, and that's where we actually come in and help. So really depends on the company. Some are technology poor, some are finance poor, some are strategy poor, some never actually ran a team before, so they don't know how to do team dynamics, they don't know how to communicate well with people, and some people are just completely burnt out emotionally, and they just don't know how to stay motivated, how to deal with stress, how to deal with all sorts of emotions. Yeah. So with those, we kind of feel as though we're like an executive team in a box. So Heather calls it instant infrastructure. So within our team, we have a CEO, a COO, a CFO, a CMO, and a CTO. So within our Rocketeer team and our growing team, we have all those skills. So we know we can go and mentor, and we can go and train, and we can go and consult. So if we do find one of those gaps, if it's a finance gap, then we send Janine in. If it's a technology gap, we send Heather in. If it's just a CEO that doesn't know really how to motivate his team or leadership, then I'll go in. Okay. So between us, we provide that sort of support.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, there's no other than I need more money and I need more people. It really just depends on the company.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, where can we keep up with you and Rocketeer online?
Our website would be a good place.
Yeah.
We've got a Facebook page. We're all very active on social media. We've all got individual Twitter accounts. We've got a company Twitter account. So really probably the website is the best place because we do a lot of events here. Recently, 2 weeks back, we did an event we partnered with a company called Peace Love Studios, and we did an event called Walk in My Shoes, which was it was a sort of a mental wellness event. Because in this community, we did have 3 suicides in the last 18 months, so that really affected the community itself. So we knew that was definitely something we wanted to bring to the community, was that it's okay to share your struggles, it's okay to reach out for help. So we brought in some experts that focus just on that, focus on emotional wellness and mental wellness, and we ran a really cool one-day event called Walk in My Shoes, which so those sorts of events we want to put on at least once a month. I run an event for the food and beverage companies here once a month for them. Heather's organising tech things once a month. So we put on a lot of stuff that we try to do for the community.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
No worries.
Next, we talked to George Moncrief, entrepreneur in residence at the Vegas Tech Fund. George built his first company here over 10 years ago and has watched the community develop ever since. We talked to him about some of the key tipping points that brought the community to what it is today.
Just snowballing, and more people started showing up. And I think the tipping point really was the first startup weekend in Vegas.
Okay.
And it was at the El Cortez over here, and honestly that really brought out like so many people. Like they were like just completely engaged, and it really there wasn't a whole lot of startups here. There always have been, and that's basically our clientele for Raster, right? So it's all startups and brands, right? So there's always been a lot of activity here, but it was basically just so dispersed. Like there wasn't really one central hub for everyone to get together and just rally around. Yeah, there was like meetups and what have you, but they were here, there, and everywhere, and there wasn't really like a cohesion. Like it was siloed, really.
Over the past 10 years, how long would you say it took to build the community that even exists today?
Gotcha. Well, like I was saying, like that first startup weekend was like 2011, I think. Yeah, and that, like I said, that was really the tipping point, and that's when people started. People just came out of the woodwork to show up and participate, and that really started getting people thinking about entrepreneurship and all of that. And essentially, like after that, then everyone the tech jelly started blowing up. Userlib, which was the first co-working space over at Emergency Arts, got fired up. And the tech jelly was the event. That it was every Thursday night, and that's it. Just started like blowing up. It was a spot probably as big as this floor right here, and sometimes there would be like 300 people like up there and like just spilling out, and it was hot and sweaty, and it was ridiculous mix. but yeah, it was silly. But then like people just started showing up. You had your usual suspects always there. I mean, I was there all the time, and I used to call it Thursday night. Still did kind of. Now it's Wednesdays, but I used to call it my bowling night. So I had
Your bowling
had a pass from the wifey, and to go ahead and hang out and do all that.
Yeah.
So do you think it was having an event that was like sticky like that, like every week having something consistent that really made it gel?
Yeah, absolutely. Jelly. That's really what happened. That was definitely critical because there was a spot, like one standard, like well, not a standard, but a regular hangout location, as well as the regular hangout time as well. Like, and that really helped out. I think without that, then it just wouldn't have like taken off like it has, honestly.
What's the biggest change you've seen in the community here, like even in the last year?
Last year. Well, I would have to say that there's a lot more startups that are into year one and going into year two, like, and they're maturing. They're definitely they're growing up. And actually, by now, like 2-3 years in, there's a lot. Well, I guess 3 years, right? Essentially, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the scene that have tried and failed multiple times, and now they're on, like, they've actually matured and they're actually kicking ass right about now. Case in point, I don't know if you ever met Chris from HashRabbit.
Yeah. Yes, the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We had him on the podcast. Actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we haven't released the episode yet.
Okay,
but
cool.
Yeah.
Chris is the shit. He's a good friend, and so like, he's a perfect example. I mean, he's been through multiple startups now. He's actually a bit seasoned, and now he's just a fucking stud.
Yeah, he's killing it.
Right.
So one of the things that I noticed when I moved here was how willing everyone was to help out. You know, even when, you just came into town, you're the new person, but they introduce you to everybody, and no one really has, like, anything to hide or those contacts to hold on to. Everyone wanted you to succeed. How do you, or is there something that is pervasive in the community that creates that?
That's a great question. Is there a secret? I don't necessarily. Yeah. I don't think so. I think it's just really down to earth people that really have a bias towards collaborating with one another and like really wanting to prop each other up. Ari from Women's Startup Lab. I don't know if you're at V2V.
No, we haven't.
And in her keynote, she introduced this pretty awesome, like, Japanese character and concept. Actually, it's called Hito, and it's all about, like, propping up your fellow man, and that really resonated with me. And because I see it, and you see it, you guys are down here. I mean, it's just pervasive. Like, everyone really truly gives a damn about each other, and they want to help people out. And as far as, like, the intros definitely flow very freely around here, because everyone knows that, like, there really isn't any benefit to, like, holding something close to your vest. I mean, it's a rising tide, like, raises all ships. So yeah. Anyways, it's. I don't know if there's, like, a secret behind it, but I think it's just in the it's kind of like groupthink, I guess. Like everyone wants to see each other succeed, so like everyone just freely hands out intros and welcomes everyone into the community. I think that really is like the big differentiator. And I don't know if you guys have ever read Startup Communities by Brad Feld.
Yeah.
Pretty much a lot of us read that. Brad Feld came out, like, actually, I think it was 2011, to an event out of Fifth Street School over here, and I think that definitely like resonated with all of us. I mean, the concept of giving before getting, and really we've embraced that like as a whole, and I think each one of us do individually and collectively, obviously.
I saw him speak, I think last year he came to San Diego, and someone in the audience was like, how do we create Boulder here in San Diego? He was just like, you don't, like, do your own thing.
Exactly.
There were over 50 startups at this event, and they came from all over the country with a really wide range of things that they're working on. So we're bringing you a few of the most interesting startups that we had a chance to chat with on the floor of the conference.
I'm Franz Vanderlee, co-founder of Chef's Roll. Yeah, my co-founder and I had a web development company, and he had a background in hospitality. We had chefs approaching us to market and promote, but we quickly learned they don't have the time or money to build a whole website. So Chef's Roll was born, and now we're like the LinkedIn for chefs.
I'm Keith Casey, Director of Product for Clarify. So originally we were a telephone recording service. So you'd place calls through us, we'd record all the calls. What we found was that as the calls were made available, people would use them over time, but then over time they would stop using them more and more. So what we found was the valuable aspect of that was making calls searchable. So we plugged in automatic speech recognition on top of the calls, and so now you can find any call that you had, like down to the millisecond of like keywords and things like that. So if you wanted to know, you're coming to Tech Cocktail and you want to know when you talk to the hotel, you could find all that information easy. We found out people wanted that. They wanted that more than call recording. So we pivoted away, sold off all those customers, and we focused entirely on the search API entirely.
My name is Josh Christie. Startup is called Booth. It's trybooth.com. We got started for really solving our own need. A few months back, our phone system had crashed in the office. We weren't getting phone calls, so we thought there had to be a better way. And so what Booth does is you purchase a vanity number, and you write call rules around that based around time, location, and third-party integrations. So you can really route the call rules the way you want them to be, not the way where a device is.
Hi, I'm Dane Renier with Cactus Music Incorporated. We're an Indianapolis-based startup that's focusing on connecting people to and through the music that they love. Users can listen to music through our integrated iTunes and SoundCloud player, the only app that does that, and then when they do, it drops a pin on a map so their friends can see what they're listening to and where in real time. Users can follow artists, can buy tickets. Soon they're going to be able to buy merch and connect with artists in completely new ways.
My name's Matthew Ironman. My company is HD Scores. So 2.5 years ago, I was helping two friends open a restaurant, and I'm a classically trained chef by profession. So it was an existing establishment. We wanted to look up the previous health department inspection report to see how bad it really was. It took us 2.5 hours to find the data because it was images of PDFs searched by month range only. So you can't hit like Control F. Right. I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. Okay. And essentially we have the world's largest database of health department inspection reports. Zillow for restaurant inspection data.
Hey, my name is Isaac Naor. I moved out to Las Vegas, downtown Vegas, from Marina del Rey, California, about a month ago. And I work for a company called Cubed Inc. So I've been commuting back and forth to and from Vegas for about 11 months, 2 days a week, to spend more time with my team out here. And if you're part of the modern tech startup movement, there's no better place in downtown Vegas. It literally is a startup city.
My name is Lee Kornfeld. I'm the VP of Business Development for CrowdTunes, which is based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. We're essentially a mobile jukebox crossed with a dueling piano bar. So for you, it allows you to walk into a bar or a restaurant, check in on your phone, see what songs are coming up, and then bid on the music. But what's really cool about it is when you get people into bidding wars. So say, for instance, you put 1 credit on Taylor Swift, and I don't like Taylor Swift, so I put 2 on Ozzy Osbourne, and then your friend who loves Taylor puts 2 on Taylor. We end up going back and forth, and the song with the most collective bids plays first. Plays when the current song is done playing. So it gets pretty fun.
Ron Peters. Well, we identified a need that the movie studios and the cable companies needed to get video on demand delivered to their customers in order to compete with Netflix and Hulu. Just launched in March. We've signed up our first big client, AT&T Uverse. We're doing very well with them. They just re-upped their contract. We're releasing the 2.0 version of our product in January and looking to expand the market. Redfolder.com. The product is Black Box.
Tim, company Social Tag. We got started at a hackathon after we realized that, like events, it's really hard to network with people. So in order to alleviate that, we created Social Tag, which is created just for networking at events. Okay, so we're doing ticketing right now, but we're always looking for new technologies in order to help people connect with each other.
Very cool.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Rocketship podcast. If you enjoyed it, we have tons of other awesome episodes on our website. Check them out, rocketship.fm.
And while you're there, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. We're twice monthly. We send out actionable advice for entrepreneurs and exclusive links to AMAs with our guests. That's rocketship.fm. Sign up today.
Pretty eerie to know you're in a place that no human's ever been before.
This is Armchair Explorer, where the world's greatest adventurers tell their best stories from the road.
And 4 of us were swept down the side of the mountain, and then I knew there was no way out of this thing.
From the heart-pounding to the inspiring and the downright insane. Find Armchair Explorer, a part of APT Podcast Studios, wherever you get your podcasts.
Go and find what it is in the world that matches that wildness in yourself.
Hey, my name is Lovan Rumpf, and I've been working my ass off as a celebrity stylist by day and a podcast host by night. At the Low Life Podcast, it's all about keeping it real. We're talking fashion, beauty, to religion, sex, drugs, mental health. I mean, there's no topic off limits here, and vulnerability is mandatory. You can find my podcast, The Low Life, that's L-O, no W, everywhere and anywhere you listen to your podcasts. New episodes are out every Thursday. We'll see you then.